Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Brian.
So how was your week?
Well, I was really happy it was finally warm in New York City until I realized that the unseasonably cold weather so far was keeping trillions of sex-crazed brood X cicadas from emerging from the earth. And now they are coming.
Wait, are
And
they here in the city? Because I know they're in like the suburbs in Jersey, but I haven't heard any of them.
they're not in the city, no, but I'm going to the suburbs tomorrow. So I know that they are there and they're coming.
Waiting for you. The locusts are coming.
They're lying in wait. Yeah. And now there's this fungus that's affecting like a small percentage of them. And the fungus has this weird side effect of making them become sex crazed. Have you read about this? It's insane.
No, but Rachel, you have much more important things to worry about. Let's talk about some of them. This is Nope.
The podcast where we shut it down.
We're just a couple of New York Jews talking about the news, beating back the blues. We made a podcast and here's why. Had to laugh so we don't cry. Come and join us for the ride. Welcome to Nope.
Okay, Rachel, I know that you had a big week. You took the journalism world by storm.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess you could say that. I mean, everyone's talking about this big Bill and Melinda Gaetz divorce that was announced a few weeks ago. And I decided to write a piece about it for this online magazine called The Conversationalist that I sometimes contribute to. There's super feminist, progressive publication, woke, whatever you want to call it. And so this piece was called What Did Melinda Gaetz Know and When Did She Know It? And it's all about these connections that Bill Gates and Microsoft had to Jeffrey Epstein and what this all says about relying upon a group of ruthless billionaires to solve the world's problems, right? You read it, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It was it was a very nuanced take, I thought. Like you kind of acknowledge the fact, like it wasn't like a conspiracy story, but it is like striking how all of these billionaires somehow glommed onto Jeffrey Epstein.
Like, why? This grifter from Coney Island?
Who's nobody, right? It's because they had all the money in the world, but he had the one thing they couldn't get, which was, I don't want to, whatever.
Underage sex
slaves. Underage sex workers, yes.
Yes. Well, not workers. I mean,
no.
They're being exploited. Yeah, exactly. It's the only thing that makes sense, right?
Okay, so you had the courage to write this story, to say what many people have been thinking.
Yeah, so I wrote it, and a lot of my thinking on this issue was informed by this great book I read called Winners Take All by Anand Giridharadas. I don't know if you know who he is or this book, but it's a great book. And I was delighted when he tweeted the article to his 717,000 followers. And then all of a sudden my mentions started blowing up. People were like, great article, love it, etc. And then all of a sudden I scroll down and some people are like, I can't read it. Oh no, the link is down. WTF. So I clicked the link and sure enough, it's down, saying something like the site exceeded its limit. So I'm not sure, but it seems like I crashed this website, which I guess is a compliment and it's great. But I
can't imagine the Conversationalist regularly has millions of people flooding a given article at one time. That's I'm sure they're a fine publication, but that's probably not the level of popularity.
It's not what it's built for, right? So I emailed this editor who I really like. And I said, I think I crashed your website. And she's like, oh no, okay, we're taking care of it. But the problem is that our IT team is in Israel.
And they have their hands full at the moment.
They have a lot going on, but it was also night. So it was like the middle of the night in Israel. So she said it's going to be a few hours before it's back up. And, so I almost went viral. And
you're a victim of Hamas, basically.
I was a victim of Bill and Melinda Gaetz, but at least I got my feelings out about them.
Well, that's the most important thing. It's back up now, right?
It's back up now. Yeah, okay, I'll link to it in the show notes. How about you?
So yeah, like you got deplatformed. And as I've been talking about incessantly, I've been deplatformed from Twitter still and briefly from Facebook. And the efforts to deplatform me continue. Amazon and Apple are in on the grift now. They are trying to prevent me from powering up my devices. So as you know, as everyone knows, there's always new devices, and with every device comes a different kind of power cable and a different kind of charger. And now I have an Apple Watch, and that just multiplies it. And I have 3 locations. I have home, I have office. I keep spares in the bag, in my work bag. And it's very confusing. There's like USB-C and B and a Lightning, and the Kindle has one. And they have 2 different ends, and sometimes the ends match, and sometimes they don't. There's like infinite permutation.
So annoying.
Thing. But I said, this is a problem that money can solve, right? I'm just going to sit down. I did an audit of everything I need. I'm like, okay, this is a thing I need to plug in here. This is a thing I need to plug in here. And I just made a little inventory, and I took my best guess as to what was a USB-C and a B. And I went online and I bought, no kidding, $250 worth of cables and chargers.
Okay.
And they trickled in over the next few days, and they came and they sat on my desk, and I was scared to like to breach the seal, because like once I open it, it's a free for all. I'm going to have to,
and they'll all get tangled.
They'll all get tangled. That's right. So finally, this past weekend, I went and I did it. I broke the seal. I opened them all up. I tried to match them. And I realized that somehow, despite my meticulously organized mind and efforts, I got it all wrong. Like I had 2 of the one I didn't need, and 3 of the one I only needed 1 of, and none of the ones. And then my headphones all died because I couldn't plug them in anymore. And it was a disaster. And I said, okay, I'm going to give this one more shot. So I sat down again the other day, and I spent another $150.
You're going to go broke. You'll be just like sitting in a pile of cables like a giant like bird nest.
Water everywhere, and not a drop of electricity. So now I have that, and I haven't even opened them. I'm staring at them. I'm terrified to try because I have a fear of failure. Like, what will I do if these cords don't match?
You can't even do this. What does it
what
say?
Can I do?
Like, what is the big picture?
I don't deserve to be on Twitter. What's my exit strategy here? Like, I have none. I'm going to move into a cave.
Turn off the lights.
Exit stage.
And hide.
Right. Okay. That was my big excitement this week. Rachel, I think we need some nopes, and I think we need some dry heaves. The signature segment on this program now.
We should create like a song for the dry heaves.
A theme song?
Yes.
I would have to write it, and the last time it took me 10 weeks.
A little jingle. You're a pro bono jingle writer.
Okay,
so.
I'll put that high on my to-do list if I could plug in my computer. So
I'll sing if you want me to sing.
You've made that abundantly clear. You want to sing on everything. Okay.
Okay. So I guess the first thing to talk about here is Donald Trump's just out of this world response to Tish James's escalating the case against the Trump organization from civil to criminal. So the news came out this week that this was happening, and Donald Trump went right to his computer or just started screaming, and someone took dictation more likely. And he issued a statement on his blog, because he's a blogger now, from the desk of Donald J. Trump. And it's too long to repeat here. I'm not going to bore you, but I'm going to read some excerpts from it. Here we go. This is the beginning. I have just learned through leaks in the mainstream media that after being under investigation from the time I came down the escalator 5.5 years ago, including the fake Russia hoax, the 2-year, $48 million no collusion Mueller witch hunt, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and others, that the Democrat New York Attorney General has informed my organization that their investigation, in quotes, is no longer just a civil matter, but also potentially a, quote, criminal investigation, working with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Then he goes on a long rant about Tish James for a while. Of course, he hates her for various reasons, not the least of which are probably that she is both Black and a woman, and how he thinks the investigation is all politically motivated. And then he says, quote, if you can run for a prosecutor's office pledging to take out your enemies and be elected to that job by partisan voters who wish to enact political retribution, then we are no longer a free constitutional democracy.
That's exactly what he did. That should be in the dictionary under gaslighting.
Yes. How? Okay. So likewise, the district attorney's office has been going after me for years based on a lying, discredited lowlife, aka Michael Cohen, who has not listened to or given credibility by other prosecutorial offices. I don't know which offices he's talking about.
And a big word for him, prosecutorial
offices, and sentenced to 3 years in prison for lying and other events unrelated to me. Okay, so then there's more rambling about how he's a victim of harassment, his whole family is suffering, and then he says the district attorney and attorney general are possessed at an unprecedented level with destroying the political.
Are there different levels of possession? Can you be mildly possessed?
Just like a little bit possessed, like slightly touched. But so they are possessed at an unprecedented level. No one's ever seen an attorney general this possessed.
In the recorded history
of the law. Okay, so she's possessed with destroying the political fortunes of President Donald J. Trump and the almost 75 million people who voted for him, by far the highest number ever received by a sitting president. Not higher than Joe Biden.
than a now sitting president.
Yeah, and I'm alarmed by the whole third person references that he always uses and will probably continue to use until the day he dies. And then he talks about all these things he allegedly achieved in office and how he made America great again, and Joe Biden's making it worse. And he ends by saying, if these prosecutors focused on real issues, crime would be obliterated and New York would be great and free again.
Well, that would imply that in red states that he likes, where presumably prosecutors are focused on the correct thing, there would be zero crime. So let's look at Texas. I have a feeling there's probably crime in Texas. Like, that makes no sense. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. I mean, it's like a very, sir, this is an Arby's type of statement, and
wait,
I don't know.
I don't get that reference. What is that?
like when someone's just like rambling and you're just like, sir, this is an Arby's. Sure,
I thought someone would go in and try to order like a Wendy's meal, and they would say, sir, this is an Arby's. We serve roast beef here.
Maybe. I don't know where it originates from, but I like it. Okay. And so, I don't know, 2 hours later, he was tweeting about Kirstie Alley. So I guess he's going to be okay.
Wait.
Well, not tweeting. He was blogging.
You buried the lead. What's going on with Kirstie Alley?
I don't know. Someone, I have no idea. I guess when I read that, I was like, oh, something must be going on with Kirstie Alley. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to look up what it is. I don't care. But he said she's a great American. Okay. So that's one thing that's going on.
Let's
nope to that.
Okay.
But yep to Tish James. And the other big nope is that, Matt Gaetz is still sitting in Congress, and
you can stop the nope right there. Like, we can say nope and move on.
It's just nope. He's like, of course, one of the Republicans who voted against a bipartisan commission to investigate the events of January 6th. And how is he even allowed to be voting in Congress when he's under investigation for paying a minor for sex?
How long is this investigation going to take? Like, if there's someone who commits a very minor crime, like peeing in the street, right? Like, they're in jail in 30 seconds, right? And
right.
Matt Gaetz, there's this abundance of evidence of his insane, felonious crimes over and over again, including betraying the public trust in many ways. And what are they doing? This is presumably the Merrick Garland Justice Department. Come on, guys, you're on our side.
Arrest him. Every day. I'm like, is today going to be the day? And it's not the day.
No.
So the latest in the Joel Greenberg case it makes this even more outrageous. So
that's
his
former
that's his
friend.
Business associate. Yeah, the Seminole County tax collector who was the most colorful tax collector in all of American history. He pleaded guilty this week to a range of charges in a deal that will require him to help with other investigations that are ongoing, presumably, predominantly into Matt Gaetz. And they must have thought that he had good information and was worth worth giving a plea deal to, because he was originally charged with 33 crimes and he only wound up pleading guilty to 6 of them. They dropped 27 charges.
So he must have good information then if he's trading that information for that plea deal.
Yes. And to be sure, the 6 things that he did plead guilty to include child sex trafficking and wire fraud, but still it's better than 33 charges. So what do you think this means about what is like, why can't someone say, you know what, you haven't been arrested yet, but like, I think it's best if maybe you work from home and like, do not vote, do not come in, do not pass go.
I don't know if that's an option. Is that like being on probation or something? I think you're in jail or out of jail.
Just go somewhere. I don't know. I mean, like how is this happening? It boggles the mind. So nope to Matt Gaetz. I'm really, really excited for the day that you are arrested.
Can we move from national to local for a moment?
Oh yes, I'm ready to go on that journey from macro to micro.
As everybody knows, we are proudly a podcast out of New York. In fact, I just looked at our stats. 25% of our listeners are international, and you would think, we do have like the sort of cool New York crowd that listens to us, but it's still only about like 10-20% of our listeners are in New York. So this mayoral news, which seems local to us, is maybe of interest to a wider audience. So let's dive in and talk about this. So I am now receiving in the mail every day, not kidding, a dozen of these oversized postcards for not only for individual candidates, not just for mayor, which is coming up, but for Manhattan Borough President and City Council. And we have ranked choice voting for the first time, so I'm getting all the postcards explaining how to do that. I still don't know how to do that. But then one stood out so much so that I sent you a picture of it. Very peculiar. It was a picture of like a cute child with like a bowl haircut, and he's in a jacket and tie with a pocket square as like a news anchor with like a news background, and up in the top corner it
says, I received it too.
It says New York NY 21 News, which is not a thing. That is not a station. That is not a form of news. And then below, as like his name, there's a chyron that identifies him as Benjamin Bridgntunnel. And it's spelled Bridgntonnel. So
no
bridge
apostrophes,
and tunnel, right?
no vowels.
Which is what we call people who are not from Manhattan, not from New York City. They come in, they're
via bridges and tunnels.
Bridges and tunnels, and they're kind of gaudy and so forth. But this is Benjamin Bridgntunnel, some sort of 10-year-old young man in his suit and tie, and I cannot figure out. I thought maybe this was like an error. Like, when sometimes they put a placeholder name somewhere and someone thought this was like a funny placeholder and then they forgot to swap it out for the kid's real name. Yeah. Or is it like some weird insider joke in the campaign? Or is it like a swipe at the outer boroughs? Like whatever it is, if it's going out to millions of New Yorkers.
I thought it was his kid.
Whoa. The plot thickens here. There's a lot more to this story than just that. So, of course, I Google, who is Benjamin Bridgntunnel? I thought maybe he was like a local personality. So someone on Reddit, of course, the first result is from Reddit. And the question is, can anybody explain to me why an endorsement from Benjamin Bridgntunnel would make me want to vote for Scott Stringer? Which really is not the right question. The question is, who the fuck is Benjamin Bridgntunnel? Not why should he influence my vote? So I go
The question is the who, not the why. The who needs to be answered first.
Before why we should care about him. Like, who is this child? Right.
Like, we need exposition,
Right. So then I Googled New York 21 News. I figured maybe that's a better clue. And it turns out that New York 21 News has its own Facebook group, its own Twitter account, which I can't see, its own Instagram. And the Facebook group has 8 likes and 14 followers. And it's full of videos, like newscast videos with Benjamin Bridgntunnel. And
he's like a star. He's like a local celebrity.
No, but he's not. They're all like pitch videos for Scott Stringer. So there's one on different issues. There's one on the housing. There's one on climate change. On the housing one, he goes, he's like Bob the Builder. And then there's a picture of Scott Stringer dressed like Bob the Builder, but it says Scott the Builder. But there's still like nothing about who he is or why he's called Benjamin Bridgntunnel. And then you scroll down and they have other news anchors on New York 21, this fictitious channel.
Other children?
Other children. It's a news network, a fictional news network run by children. This is what Scott Stringer stands for. All news networks will be run by children. The other anchor is named Barbara Bagapple, B''Gapple, which I guess
okay, I get it. Big Apple.
And Hannah Hudson, I guess the Hudson River.
Hudson River. Okay,
right.
so they don't want to use their real names.
That's right. These are. I thought maybe Benjamin Bridgntunnel was a real name, but it is not. He is best friends with Barbara Bagapple and Hannah Hudson.
I thought he was somehow related to Benjamin Button because he's so young.
Yeah, maybe he used to be Scott Stringer, and then he went in reverse, and now he's Benjamin Bridgntunnel. No. So, like, why are children running this man's campaign? He's the comptroller.
There's no explanation on this flyer about what any of this
sure
is.
Enough, finally, like the investigative journalist I am, I flip over the damn thing, and there's a picture of him with his family, his wife and his two kids, one of whom bears a resemblance to Benjamin Bridgntunnel.
That's what I thought
be
too.
him.
Yeah,
the one on the right. You're looking
the
at
one on the
also,
right. Yes,
yeah,
it looks sort of like him, except he's not as like dressed up, so it's hard to know.
No, because he's not on air at the moment.
Yeah.
This is in his downtime. And then I looked him up on Wikipedia, Scott Stringer, and he has two children named Max and Miles. So the question is, are Max and Miles his campaign managers? Like, this seems like child
exploitation.
Exploitation, yes. Like you can't, and very ineffective. Like it just everything raises more questions than it answers.
Yeah,
and then there's this picture on the front cover of Scott Stringer with an African American teenager out of context, and it's like,
just like in like a climate change march or something. Like
and it's like Scott Stringer knows Black teenagers. Like,
and then it doesn't even, it says Scott Stringer is endorsed by the United Federation of Teachers because he's a progressive ready to lead on day one, but none of this
pertains to that.
So I am not going to support Scott Stringer because I feel like he needs better copywriters.
He was in my top 3 with ranked choice, and now with Benjamin Bridgntunnel, he's in my bottom 3.
Bottom 3, forget it. Yeah.
Okay, no.
No.
You can't blame Benjamin, whoever he is, like kid or not kid. You got to blame Scott Stringer.
No, Benjamin, there's nothing. He's doing his part.
He's a victim in all this. He's rising to the occasion.
He's an innocent bystander.
No, he's faithful to his father. His father says, help daddy with his campaign. He does. He doesn't know.
But we don't know if it's, but you don't know. You haven't done a DNA test. You don't know if Benjamin Bridgntunnel is definitely Max or Miles Stringer. You don't know evidence.
We have nothing further to add to this story. Okay. Why don't you continue? Rachel, have you been following the mayoral race?
So yeah, I'm really confused by it because I liked Ray McGuire. I thought he'd be good. I thought Maya Wiley might be good. And then I saw their estimates for the price of a home in Brooklyn, and they were so wildly off the map that I was like, I don't know about these people. So I was like, oh, this is great. There's a local nonprofit newspaper called The City. Have you heard of it?
No, but I'll
it's
look
great.
it up now.
They're doing good reporting, and they had a quiz where you can enter your feelings about various issues, like a multiple choice, and it will tell you which candidate matches best with your viewpoints. And
I need
to be sure, I needed it. And
50 candidates.
There's so many, some of whom I don't even know who they are. And so I was like, all right, I'll do this. And to be sure, I did not know the answer to how I feel about every issue. Like, should NYCHA be funded entirely by one fund or split among various things? I just didn't.
How dare you? You're neglecting your civic responsibility. You don't know about the housing authorities
The
funding
housing
matrix.
So there were some things that I skipped. There were some things that I, did my best guess. And I was kind of in like a whole burn it all down Bolshevik mood because I had just written that Bill Gaetz piece. And so, in the end, I get the result, and it's a person I had never heard of and did not know at all was running for mayor. And this person's name is Paperboy Prince.
Wait a minute. Say it again. Paperboy what?
Paperboy
Prince? Like he's a paperboy prince? This is who you align with on the issues? Yeah. What is his issue? Paperboy rights?
This is insane. So Paperboy Prince is a 28-year-old non-binary rapper from Brooklyn who uses the pronouns they, them, or God, goddess. So,
I didn't see that coming. Okay.
So God's resume includes a stint as a newspaper delivery worker, hence the name Paperboy,
yeah.
as well as experience as an artist, a rapper, an activist, a street performer, web designer, fashion model, and entrepreneur. So I say this is a lot of experience, right? Prince has a Love Gallery, which is an art gallery, a vintage clothing shop, and a community gathering spot on Myrtle Avenue in Bushwick, and says that their campaign message is all about love. That's what it's about, love. And so, you know what? I think I am going to vote for Paperboy Prince in the primary.
Now is love, sweet love.
Yes. So I feel like they say vote for who you're most aligned with in the primary, and then in the general, vote for who's the best, who's the best of worst options,
Okay,
so I'm going with Paperboy Prince. That's who.
Before I lend my endorsement to Paperboy Prince, I will take the same quiz. I suspect I will come out with a different result, but you never know.
You never know. You never know. It depends what kind of mood you're in, really.
Paperboy, if you want to be on the podcast, call us. We're very discriminating with our guests, but
I would love to have Paperboy Prince. Maybe I should just show up at the Love Gallery and just ask.
He's there. He's there every day.
They.
Oh, sorry. Goddess is there every day. Okay. I have one more mayor of New York. So everyone knows Andrew Yang, former presidential candidate, the Bros, is running for mayor. It's, on the one hand, a little bit of a joke because he's very gaffe prone. On the other hand, he's either in the lead or tied with Eric Adams for first place. So this could really happen. But he's made the gap. Remember he insulted the pets on National Pet Day a few months ago?
Because he took a picture of himself with a pet that he gave away because his child developed an allergy, and the dog was clearly a hypoallergenic dog. So I have no idea what he was talking about. But anyway,
very Dorit Kemsley moment.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the most coveted endorsements you can get in New York City is from the Stonewall Democratic Club, which is LGBTQ, named after Stonewall Bar and Uprising, and they're very powerful. And they interview the different candidates in a session to talk about LGBT issues and see where they stand on them, and then they issue an endorsement. So Yang got up and he was auditioning for their endorsement, and this was the statement he made. This was the quote that stood out. There's a video. He said, "You're, you people, you're so human and beautiful. You make New York City special. I have no idea how we ever lost to the Republicans, given that you are, frankly, in leadership roles all over the Democratic Party. Democrats have this incredible secret weapon. It's not even secret. It's we should win everything because we have you all."
Has he ever met a gay person in his life?
No, it gets better. He has proof that he's pro-gay because he said, this is the worst. He says, quote, "several gay members of staff that he has." And he says, "Well, first, let me say that if I go to Cubbyhole," which is a lesbian bar, "if I go to Cubbyhole, I think I'm going to be accompanied by at least one of my two campaign managers who are both gay." So that's his way of
like
saying, like,
secret wink, wink. Like, I know the truth.
I know,
Like,
I know the
like,
name of a lesbian bar, and I know someone who would take me there. So,
okay.
So he's very into the gay bars. When asked about how he would tackle a certain issue facing LGBT New Yorkers, he talks about gay bars. It was so bad, one member afterwards described it as Michael Scott level of cringe.
It sounds like that. Yes.
And
it's like I'm hiding right now in a cabinet.
Right. Like,
recording this podcast.
Right. And Rose Chris, the president of the Stonewall Democrats, says he came across like he was a tourist in New York and said he wanted to visit a gay bar. Yeah, it's terrible. Like, this guy, like, it's not like he's from Indiana. Like
I don't understand. This guy has no finesse. Like, he could really win this thing in 2 seconds if he just had 1 ounce of common sense.
Well, needless to say, the Stonewall Democrats did not endorse Andrew Yang following this performance. Would you like to guess who they endorsed?
Paperboy Prince.
Scott Stringer.
Okay.
Benjamin Bridgntunnel, of course.
Well, I don't know.
Despite Scott Stringer's very sketchy record on gender
child labor
issues. Okay, so nope to the mayor race. It's June 22nd or something. I can't wait for it to be over. Let's just.
I know. I can't wait to vote to endorse Paperboy Prince. We're endorsing God.
Okay, nope to all that. Rachel, you have a funny one that I have no idea what it's about. I just see the headline here. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So the New York Post is, our city's best, worst newspaper. As you know, you read it every day. It's total garbage, bottom feeding. And yet, this week,
delicious
a delight. Yeah. And yet this week they outdid themselves even for them. So the Post had a story called Peculiar Pets, How One Man Learned That 6 Peacocks Are Better Than One. And the story is about a guy.
Can I just say, like, I know peacocks. I know peacocks. 0 peacocks are better than 1. They're monsters.
Right, exactly.
They screech. They attack you. Everyone thinks it's cute to have a peacock. It is not cute.
Well, if you have a group of them, it's better because they're pack animals. They're not like they're pack.
Did you know that this happens at Stowe? They perch in the trees and they screech from the trees. And at night, there's just like a baby screaming and you don't know what it is. And you look up, you're like, there's a baby in the tree, which of course your first thought when you hear screaming from a tree. And it's a peacock.
It's a peacock. Yeah. I mean, so anyway, so this story is about the journey of a guy named Sean Flynn. He wrote a book called Why Peacocks? An Unlikely Search for Meaning in the World's Most Magnificent Bird. And it tells the story of how his peacock, which is named Carl, got very sick and he had to trap it with a net to take it to the vet because peacocks can be very, as you were saying, violent in these types of situations. And so he traps the peacock, takes it to the vet. The prognosis is not good. There's multiple organ failure caused by lead and zinc poisoning. I don't know how that happened. There was a surgery, but Carl eventually recovered. So anyway, so there's this whole story in the Post about Sean Flynn and his peacocks. He's got 3 birds, Ethel, Carl, and Mr. Pickle. Okay. And by the end, there's always like a broadening paragraph to be like, why is this relevant? And it was talking about other famous peacock owners. And it says, they include Martha Stewart, who has 16 peacocks, and the late Hugh Hefner, who had several. And that seems pretty innocuous, right? It's just kind of like a throwaway paragraph at the end of this article, but not for Martha Stewart. She was irate. She tweeted, "The New York Post again, fake news. They have a story. They have a story on peacocks today." And they say I have 16 on my farm. I actually have 21 of these glorious birds whose house is impeccable. They do not smell. They are so clean. Their voices are loud, but such fun to hear. They are so friendly. And that's it. She just ends it with no punctuation.
I thought it was going to be a letter to the editor That's
No, but then
like,
so the Post issues a correction saying, editor's note, this story originally reported that Martha Stewart has 16 peacocks. Stewart clarified via Twitter that she actually has 21 glorious and impeccably clean peacocks.
they're trolling her now. That's great. Wait, but did anyone claim that they weren't? I mean, they got the number wrong. Good on them for owning that. But did they suggest that her peacocks were filthy or smelly in any way?
I don't think they suggested that hers were, but I think when they were talking about like Mr. Pickle and
So
Ethel.
Mr. Pickle. Well, maybe they have hygiene issues. No one's transferred that onto Martha Stewart's peacocks.
I know everyone's peacocks are different. So
like every snowflake, they're all unique.
They each have their own unique behaviors. So, but I say 16 to 21, that's a pretty big difference. They could have called this is not information that's ungettable. So I say nope to the New York Post. Get it right. Martha Stewart is absolutely in the right. Yeah,
I mean, they barely employ any journalists. So
yeah.
I guess it's a bridge too far to actually hire a fact checker to check the. I mean, even if you had a fact checker, would they really call Martha Stewart to check how many peacocks she has? And what was the source of the reporter's information? How do you find out how many peacocks Martha Stewart has, if not by calling Martha Stewart?
Well, I think what happened was they sent a drone to her property in
to
Connecticut.
Count the peacocks, and 5 of them were in the tree screaming.
they took several photos and mapped them out, and they could only see 16.
They geolocated them.
Yes. So okay. they did what they could, but it wasn't good enough. So
okay. So nope to the New York Post, and yep to Martha Stewart's peacocks.
Yes.
You go. Okay, I have another one. I think I'm going to skip it because let's keep it short today.
Let's keep it short.
Yeah.
Keep it brief.
Right.
Yeah.
Kill your babies. Okay. So let's go on to the ups. These are little rays of light, little beacons of hope that got us through the week. Rachel, you had one and then you switched it up. So I don't know what it is.
Yes. So my up goes to Keith McNally, the restaurateur, the great owner of various New York restaurants, because he had this outrageous Instagram post tonight that is setting the media world on fire. It's feels like a throwback to the old days of media gossip. So it's this giant photo. If you go on his Instagram, Brian, right now, you could see it. It's this very unflattering photo.
I'm scared to go on Instagram in case I've been deplatformed from Instagram. I'm supposed to be a guest on someone's Instagram live next week, and I'm terrified to go on because I don't know how to do it, and I fear I've been banned from it.
You need 4 different cables.
I don't have any. My phone will be dead.
So I don't know if you can go on Instagram, but so Keith McNally posts this unflattering picture of Graydon Carter and says, Graydon Carter, the former Vanity Fair editor and current editor of Airmail magazine, had a lunch reservation at my restaurant, Morandi, yesterday. It was for 12 people at 1 p.m. Because Mr. Carter's a restaurateur himself, my chef, manager, and floor staff were eager for the lunch to go perfectly for him. Extra staff were brought in to help with service. 2 tables of 6 were meticulously set up and ready for Graydon Carter by 1 p.m. Only he didn't show up at 1 p.m. At 1:30, Morandi was packed and people were waiting for tables, but Mr. Carter's 2 tables of 6 remained empty. Around 2 p.m., Graydon Carter's assistant called to say Mr. Carter wasn't coming, but the celebrated editor had forgotten to call and cancel. At 2:10, the 2 reserved tables were broken down. By then, Morandi was emptying out and no one needed a table. By forgetting to call and cancel his party of 12, Mr. Carter had upset the equilibrium of the restaurant and cost the servers money and tips, and had cost Morandi money too. Graydon Carter had done this very same thing before, once at Minetta Tavern and twice at Balthazar. Perhaps being something of a social bigwig, Mr. Carter thinks he's above having to cancel restaurant reservations. Perhaps, but I'll tell you one thing. The fancy fucker will never be allowed to make a reservation at one of my restaurants again. Never.
Right on.
So, I mean, I love it.
Yup, right?
Yes, big yup to Keith McNally. And the fancy fucker, I mean, it's almost a compliment. Right.
I interviewed with Graydon Carter once when I was right out of college looking for a journalism job. I got referred to him. I got an interview with him. And I told him, I had story ideas, and I wanted to be like an assistant editor and all that stuff. And he made nice and then sent me to like HR, where they promptly gave me a typing test to see how fast I could type, because obviously that was the only job I was qualified for.
And did you pass the typing test? No.
I'm a very fast typist, but I guess even that didn't qualify me, because I did not get a job offer from Vanity Fair. So fuck you, Graydon Carter.
Yeah.
You're a bad guy.
Fuck you. Cancel your reservations. God, in the middle of a
Especially,
pandemic.
these restaurants are dying for business now. You can't just
what's
block
wrong
out
with you?
Okay, this turned into a
Okay.
nope. Let's give you up to Keith McNally. Okay, very related, also culinary. I am giving my yup to limited edition spring vegetables. And by that, I mean the spring vegetables that have a very short season, like ramps and spring garlic and fava beans, and especially morels that are delicious. Mm-hmm. And you can go to certain nice restaurants, and they creatively put like, I had a great risotto with like ramps and fava beans and morels, and it's great in risotto. It's great in pasta. It could be in any sauce. It could be like just a little ragu on its own.
Good.
It's
the star of the show. It is.
Yeah. It makes you want to be a vegetarian, and they're only available for a few weeks, and they're obscenely expensive in the farmer's market or in the supermarket, if you can even find them. And that's one of those things. It's better with such a precious ingredient. Let a professional chef prepare it for you. They know what to do with it, and
enjoy it and savor the moment, because it's seasonal. That's the whole point.
Yeah, Graydon Carter forfeited his right to have morels. You get nothing.
And ramps.
Ramps.
You get nothing.
Take the off ramp. Okay,
Go
so
eat some garbage. No.
So limited edition spring vegetables. Okay, that's the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you have enjoyed this, please rate, subscribe, review. We're everywhere. We're not just on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify's getting big in podcasts. We are on Spotify.
We're on Spotify.
There's all the other Stitcher,
Overcast,
Undercast, Dogcatcher, Cast, like every cast you can find, we're on it. And they all have reviews. So go there, subscribe and review. And better yet, tell a friend.
Tell your friends.
Without them,
like this.
If you're vaccinated, you could do without a mask now. You can give them a big hug and say, have I got a podcast for you? It's called Nope. It's been a terrible, terrible week. It's been a fun podcast to record. Thank you for listening. This has been Nope,
the podcast where we shut it down.